Hey, everybody, welcome to the Small Business Virtual Town Hall meeting with Lieutenant Governor Dan McKee. Hey, Lieutenant Governor.
Hi, Ben. Thanks for coming on and helping us out, making sure that we get this production done. And today we'll have another hour of very good information for the small businesses and also everybody that lives in our state of Rhode Island, because we're in the reopening strategy. And as I mentioned on Friday's call, that was a good thing, because now we know that we got to stay healthy. We got to make sure that we're not contracting the virus. We need to do everything we can to follow the rules that are in place with the masks and the social distancing, the clean of the hands, following Dr. Scott, following the governor's office, and making sure that we are, doing everything we can to make sure that we have a safe reopening of the economy. But like I mentioned before, we need to be as flexible as we possibly can, and use as much imagination and that flexibility as possible to give our businesses the opportunity to survive. And we're in that stage right now. So we got to start thinking big. We got to start thinking a lot bigger than we're thinking right now. I understand that Commerce may have some word on using some of the federal care money on Friday, potentially for help the small business. Well, we need to make sure that's a big number. And the plan is a big plan, because right now all our businesses are at risk. I don't care whether you're in a low income area or high income area, all our small businesses are at risk, and we need to treat everyone that way to make sure that we're being as flexible as we can to allow customers and the people who normally do business with our small businesses to do that business with us. So that's what the show is about today. It's meant to, and I'll be talking about some big ideas. I think the state needs to do a lot more than I'm reading right now. If we're creating heavy restrictions as we are with the restaurants, and they're opening up, and the way that they have to comply, or any of our businesses, or the retail, or any of our businesses that are opening up at not full capacity. I believe the state and the local communities really need to get a lot more aggressive with a big plan to help support that, both financially and through flexibility. So we'll be talking a lot about that over this show. But I wanted to start off by bringing Mark Haywood in again. Mark, thank you so much for being here with us, talking about the SBA issues. I know, and maybe bring Joe Rodeo in as well. Joe's in our office, helps us out a great deal with a lot of the legal matters that we go through. And I like to highlight the people in my office as a small group, but they're very talented, very skilled. So Joe, thank you for being here too.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Mark, give us a little heads up on, first of all, my first question before you get into it, is there still money left on the PPP? Uh-oh. Mark, we could hear you loud and clear before, and we can't hear you now.
Mark, you just gotta unmute your mic.
Oh, there we are.
There you go. Good.
Phew. No, I'm here, Governor. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
There are $110 billion still left in the PPP, and I think it's really important for people, if they need additional resources, that they should definitely apply for them. There are some questions that are currently ongoing. What is eligible? What is not eligible? What will forgiveness look like? And I'll be very candid with you. Those are the questions that I cannot answer. I do know that we've gone back and forth a number of times with Washington on very specific areas that we thought that we had a real good handle on, and we continue to do that. But what is forgiveness? I do not know. But a couple of things that I definitely wanted to let people know about. In the first round of PPP, or the Paycheck Protection Program, 7,732 businesses here in Rhode Island received loans for $1.3 billion. So the average loan size for Rhode Islanders was about $172,000. The national average, Governor, was $206,000. So it was a little bit higher. In round two, we have so far done 7,960 loans for $593 million, which is, as you can see, there's a considerable, the loans are getting smaller. We're actually hitting those very small businesses. And the average loan size for Rhode Island is $73,000, where it's approximately $75,000 nationally. I did check this morning, 415 EIDL loans, economic injury disaster loans, were approved for $52,099,200. So clearly we do have we have money that's going out on the street for idle loans. I'd like to see a lot more, but I don't have anything to do with idle. That's on the other side of the house. So on the other side of the house, hopefully we'll continue to encourage. I do know that there are over 6 million applications nationwide, so we continue to encourage that. The portal was open for it could still be open right now for a very brief time to allow for agriculture and aquaculture businesses to go in to apply for idle advance, which is the grant, and idle loans. And if people do have a idle application that begins with a 2, we're recommending that they go back in and they reapply, because they need to have an application that begins with a 3. So that's where we're at today, Governor.
Okay. And then I'll do my own editorial on as a small business owner. If you think you qualify, apply. And that, Mark, you don't have to mention, you don't have to say what, but if you think you're a qualifiable business, apply. I think that survival of your business is number one priority. And as long as you can state why you think that you are, in need of those dollars, apply. And Mark, I want to thank you, because I know we on the last call, we referred a couple people to you, and I know you helped them a great deal. So thank you so much for doing that. Those businesses appreciate it.
It's our pleasure to do that. There are a lot of people we can't help. There are some that we can't help, and we're doing the best we can.
Yeah. Now, the other area that I would say too, Mark, is I'm hearing some states are, even filing lawsuits that the minority businesses can't get the loans and that type of thing. But you've got $111 billion left. We need to make sure that we're delivering the message loud and clear to every community out there in the state of Rhode Island, regardless of they're Hispanic, they're Black, they're minority, they're white, they're Irish like me. That we need to make sure that we find a way for them to work through whatever difficulties they might be having, and making sure that they get them as much applications in as possible. Because the more money that we get in our state, the better chance we have of having our businesses survive through this crisis.
Yeah, we've worked with the Commerce RI, and we've also worked with the Hispanic Chamber and the Black Chamber of Commerce, the African American Chamber of Commerce, as well as, by the way, I'm Native American, so we don't want to forget the Native American affiliations that we have out there. And we certainly work with the tribes to encourage them, if they have businesses, to definitely apply.
Yeah, so I would just say to anybody who's listening to this or going to listen to this over the next few days, we had over 10,000 reaches on our last broadcast, so we're starting to really penetrate into Rhode Island in a real significant way. So if you're listening to this, you are a family-owned business, or you own a business, regardless of where you are in the state, and you're interested in getting involved with the SBA loans, you can contact our office at 222-2371. We certainly will direct you directly to Mark if you don't already have that direct connection. And I encourage you to do it. And so I don't care who you are or where you live. We want you to bring in as much dollars as we possibly can from the federal dollars. And the only way you can do it is by apply. So if you've been thinking about it.
I just want to say that, if people are looking to reach out to us, they can always go to Rhode Island, and that's spelled out RHODEISLAND _DO at SBA.gov. And we'll be happy to get back to them as quickly as possible. We actually go through that box 2, 3, 4 times a day to make sure that there's nothing in it by the end of the day.
That's great, Mark. And I know you're doing that work. So we encourage everybody out there, if there's $100 billion left, let's get our share in Rhode Island. The only way you're going to do it is by applying. If you have any difficulty for any reason, for language or just unfamiliar, or you don't have a direct bank that you're working with right now, but you're qualifiable, we can help you. And we want to make sure that we help you. So if you happen to be a resident out there that has that has been supporting a small business, and you're talking to them and they're still talking about the difficulties and they haven't, then make sure that you refer them to us, and we'll refer them to Mark. That's the way to go.
Great, thank you.
Joe, I understand the American Hockey League kind of made a decision to shut down their season, right?
That's correct. Yep, was announced on Monday morning. Yep.
Joe, you do some of the legal work for the American Hockey League, right?
That's right. Yep.
Yeah, that's why I think that some of the things that you're working on are very appropriate for Rhode Island on small business and then big business. Do you have any? I've talked to you beforehand, but I think that the alert is out there about what, as Mark said, about the forgiveness strategies. And yeah, I know that you're concerned about that.
Yeah, well, the two most popular topics now are certainly the forgiveness and also the new necessity requirement. There are a lot of resources out there. Well, I should say not a new necessity requirement, but the additional guidance that was put out as a result of some of the large businesses and capital markets that people can access. And they've actually once already extended that forgiveness period. So there's a lot of questions about that. We are looking out constantly for new guidance and education on those requirements. So, but there are a lot of resources. The Bar Association and others are trying to put together educational, materials on those topics. And as always, we'll just keep looking out for the most popular topic, the more details on the forgiveness regs and how that's going to work. And as soon as we know, you'll have it, the office will have it, and we'll find a way to distribute it to everybody who's interested.
Thanks, Joe. And for those who are listening out there, we are in direct contact with our congressional leadership. Joe has helped me draft letters to them on behalf of our small businesses, on behalf of Rhode Island, and we're going to continue to do that. So if you do have some questions on any issue that relates to the loan process on the SBA, you can contact our office, contact Mark. We'll certainly go to Joe for some good advice, and then we can also refer you into other areas that you can get the advice that you need. We need to make sure we capture as many of those dollars as we possibly can for Rhode Island. The more money we bring in, the better chance we got, and the less unemployment we'll have. And that's how I'm going to segue into Matt right now. Matt, give us the update, Matt, on DLT. Thank you so much for the hard work you do. And again, I'll say the same thing that I did with Mark, that we're getting many people that are calling us, and I know you're getting calls from all different directions, but we appreciate all the work you're doing from everybody in general, but also we appreciate the response that you've had to our office in particular. So thank you.
Of course, Governor, it's our pleasure. We're here to serve, and I've talked to a lot of people in the last couple of months, and when we finally get to someone, they're very happy, and they always thank you. And I tell them, this is what I chose as a career. This is why I'm here, and I want to help. So let me help. Right now, there's a Facebook group that's talking about unemployment issues, and they're putting my name and my information in there, saying I'm helping people. And one of them referred to me as the DLT Santa Claus, and I said I have the beard to go with it, and it is getting pretty gray. But the challenge is we're just so incredibly busy that every person we help, it's good for them, but it's a challenge for everybody else who's still waiting. And with over 200,000 claims and little issues that hang people up, we just have to find new ways every day to try to get this money out the door, and to be mindful of the trust fund, which is employer funded, and to be responsive to the employers that we serve that are saying that we need to get people back to work and you have to help us. And so we've changed process on that end to be able to quickly get stops in. I've worked with employers from your town, Mayor, to try to help out with some of them and getting their people back on payroll, or at least shut off their unemployment benefits until they can prove why they need to be on them. I wish I could say it was easy, and I wish I could say that we see an end in sight. Right now, we don't. It's plateaued, but at an incredibly high level. And so we're just catching up and doing the best we can. The couple of updates I have today, I talked the other day about extensions, and extensions are when someone's claim expires. Either the year that they have the benefits in is over, which means it runs for a year from the date that you file. So either that time lapsed, or you exhausted your credits, like a bank account, and it's now empty. The federal government added 13 weeks of extensions. The problem is you had to go in and figure out who all the people were that had exhausted their benefits over the last 6 months or so. That's a lot of work, and it's tough with an old computer system, but we've done it. Every day we're pushing out about 1,000 emails to people saying, it's okay, it's your time. You can now get back on unemployment. Here's how we can pay you back to when the CARES Act passed. We're doing that every single day. Today I saw another 1,000 went out, so that's a good thing. A little bit at a time, we're going to get there. We're going to do it together as a team. The other issue is this issue of the fraud cases that we've spoken about. I'm putting together some information, and we'll make it available online, and I'll make sure I share it with this group and with your office. But basically, what is going to happen if you email the DLT investigations email that we've spoken about? Someone will return that call. The challenge is that there are a group of people doing it and lots of calls to make. So in the meantime, I'm urging everyone to go to the 3 credit bureaus, which are Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. And for free, you can place a freeze on your credit. I know you can do that because I did it for me and my wife. Both of us had claims filed in our name. That will prevent anyone from opening a new line of credit in your name without the entity that they're trying to open it with reaching out to you to verify that you're actually doing this. The other thing you can do is for free, you can place a 1-year credit alert from one of the credit bureaus. They will then pass that information on to the other 2. I did that with one of the 3, the same for my wife. That doesn't cost anything. That'll just keep an eye on your credit as you go forward. We will then reach out and talk to every single person who submitted a claim with us that this has happened. We'll give them other resources. The state police may want to talk to them to try to figure out as part of the investigation what happened. But in the meantime, please go to the credit bureaus, freeze your credit, and keep an eye on your own credit history. Other than that, I would just say that we continue to be so busy that we're trying to be responsive, but anybody who's emailed me has noticed that the return on my email, the length of time has grown almost every day. And I'm trying to go through it quickly to see if any come from your office or anybody that I know from these calls or anyone else that we know. But as of just a minute ago, I had 934 unread emails. And it's just, I'm going through them from the bottom up. And so it's taken a little bit of time. So my apologies. Please reach out to me and I'll do my best. I need to bring my 17-year-old in for the day so he can show me how to set up some kind of folders on my email that will put the ones I want to see right away into a special place.
Matt,
other than that, I'm just here.
Yeah, on Friday's call, there were a couple of people who were expressing, I think it probably they were falling, they were frozen, they hadn't received anything. With most of the people who are not receiving falling into that fraudulent category, or has that been resolved? If they're not receiving dollars, what do they do? Do they have to wait it out, or they can get some sort of a shortcut here to get the payments?
Well, right now we are able to tell who was getting paid and then stopped getting paid as of week ending May 2nd. So those people we're working to reach out to. Most of them have called us or emailed us. And so we're reaching back to them to say, hey, what's the problem? And the reality is they probably have an internet bank as their financial institution. And because those banks are more often associated with fraud claims than other banks, like brick and mortar banks and the ones that we're all familiar with, as an abundance of caution, some stops were put on claims. So now once we verify who the person is, we can lift that stop and send those payments out. I've been doing that with a lot of people, and my staff is doing it as well. But when you're talking about thousands of people, that starts to back up. By the end of the week, we should have a tool available through our partner with Amazon Web Services, which would allow people to log in on their own, establish through what they call multi-factor authentication that they are who they say they are. So that's like when you go to a credit report and it asks you which one of these streets haven't you lived on, or you have a car loan, about how much does it cost. And when they'll go through a number of factors and then determine that the individual is actually the person, and then they'll free up that payment.
Okay. Yeah, so it's tough on those individuals, but
It is.
They got to work their way through it, and you're doing the best you can. One of the other questions that I had, and if Joe has a question before you leave, and hopefully you're able to listen in on the call as well, Matt, is the PPP loan stuff. People are taking off the unemployment. They put it on the payroll. The 8 weeks go by. And the company is not, is still operating at 20%. They do layoffs. Those people can go back into the system. Do they qualify for that $600 at the time if in 2 months from now, or are they just qualifying for the unemployment benefit? If in fact they qualify at all,
they should. If the job goes away and they're not on payroll anymore in 8 weeks, they should qualify again for unemployment. They will get money from the date they file prospectively, and the $600 would be attached to the payment so long as it's prior to July 31st, or the federal government extends the $600. Right now, it only runs through the end of July. If they extend that, then the $600 will continue to go out with their payments.
Thanks, Matt. And Joe, do you have any questions at all?
I think what popped up just now was there've been some announcements made relative to the extended benefits. Is there a particular email or phone number folks need to call to inquire about that, or has there been any guidance on what that process will be?
So we have almost everybody's email, and we're going to send out U.S. mail too. You will be contacted when it is your turn. So what happens is people fall into different groups. You have people that have their claim expired since last week. You have people whose claims expired since the beginning of April when the CARES Act passed. You have people whose claim expired going back to the beginning of the year. So we're writing computer programs that catch these people in groups and send out batch emails that say, okay, here's what you have to do. They don't have to refile. They just have to go in on the weekend and request a payment. Once they request a payment, that indicates to us that they're still out of work and still need to get paid. And then we will auto pay them for any weeks that they're owed.
Great. Thanks, Matt.
Sure.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Joe, I got one question though, maybe, and I don't know if Mark would have to come back in, and then I want to go to the Gifted Forward program. I think we got the Gifted Forward next, but so on the PPP, if someone wants to use thanks, Mark. The question came up if on the PPP, 75% needs to go to payroll. If they have people that don't come back, then they can rehire. Can they hire people? Can they hire in a way? Can they hire? Because a lot of businesses are reinventing their business. Can they hire consultants in that PPP to generate the the online capability that they need that they might not have, or is that something that goes into the other category?
So if their employees don't come back, remember question 40. In fact, this goes back to what Matt and I have talked about on a number of occasions. If individuals say, I don't want to come back on the payroll, they need documentation just to say that that individual's not coming back. And then they can hire somebody else. I mean, it doesn't, they have to have employees, so to speak. So I'm assuming that it's got to be an employee, not a consultant, Governor. But again, the problem is we don't have what does forgiveness look like. And I realize that is a huge frustration to a lot of people, but we it's got to be an employee to replace the employee, unless the employee said, I don't want to come back because of whatever, or I want to stay on unemployment. Then they become Matt's problem and not ours.
Yeah.
What
have you brought? You needed a spot for whatever reason, and the consultant became an employee for a short period of time.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't.
I know it sounds like you're gaming it, but quite frankly, you're helping that business, but anyways, that'll be a question I'll ask for.
I want to believe, Governor, that forgiveness is going to be extremely lenient, and I'm hoping, we haven't seen what Treasury's talking about yet, so it's really important that just keep good records right now.
Yeah.
Could a consultant or a 1090? Well, could a consultant end up being considered as an employee? I don't know. I can't answer that. Sorry.
Okay. We'll find out. All right, Mark. Thanks.
Open up barbershops, by the way, because I really do need a haircut.
Well, I'm
Joe needs a shave.
I had the wife do the kitchen haircut last night, so
we're thinking about some buzz cuts potentially. I don't know.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks.
Thanks,
Joe. I think we're good, right? Okay, Ben, we can bring on the my three amigos, my three buddies here that are working really hard on helping the small businesses out. I say before many times for people listening first time, both you see Justin, Chris, and Laurie are all they're like a nonprofit executive board working on volunteering to help the small business community out. At the same time, they're small business owners, so they get it. So. I don't know if you want to, Chris, why don't we start with you today, and then we'll go to Justin, we'll end with Laurie. All right?
That sounds great, Brett. But we had a pre-call, so I'm going to actually pass it off to Justin.
Okay. I'll just sit back and relax. Go ahead.
Right. I feel like we're getting pretty seasoned at this now. A 3-week run at this, we're doing pretty good. So yeah, like Chris just mentioned, we got together this morning for a few hours to talk about the progress of the rismallbusiness.org website. Be quick. I won't bore everyone with our total numbers, but overnight, since the WPRI did a second coverage of the story, we got about 35 more businesses signed up, which brings us to just about 1,200 businesses. And we saw just about 100 clicks to the buy a gift card now. So it's still making tons of progress on that. We're going to start updating this week the site for, rules as you're opening your business. So if you're confused and can't figure out where you go and what you need to look at, you'll just be able to click on the reopen tab for now and just see some bullet points in there of what you should and shouldn't be doing. And then I'll forward that over to Chris to talk about stuff from there. Lisa, if you need to change stuff, just email Justin at oceansidegraphicsri.com. And we can get those listings changed up. We added about 70 new entries today. So if you were on there and you didn't see yourself, you should be there now.
And with that, we're continuing to evolve the rismallbusiness.org website, as we've mentioned before, and now it's in the works. So in addition to, the first part of Shop Local with the Gift It Forward program and with Lori's RI Thrives program, we're going to have an ability for consumers to shop local to help us small businesses. The second part is going to be about all this information regarding reopening. Commerce is doing a great job trying to, give information as soon as they get it. But there is some, small businesses saying that we need a better way to get information to us. So we're just trying to centralize all of these great organizations, like all the chambers, the Manufacturers Association, the Small Business Advocacy Council that the Lieutenant Governor's on, and just trying to centralize that information to give it to the small businesses directly and quickly. And the third part will be to help grow these businesses. The Lieutenant Governor always mentions we want to have as many businesses open after COVID as it was before COVID. So any business that wants to be part of volunteering their services or time to help out these small businesses, please reach out to us. We'll kind of add you to the group as another provider of services to help our small business community grow.
Great.
That's great. So yeah, it's super exciting. We are coming together to create this small business hub to answer your questions and also to be sure that your customers can find you and know what you're doing. And so the Shop Local segment of the site will include businesses that are doing takeout, offering delivery and curbside pickup, offering gift cards, and doing online classes or have services that can be delivered online. So, yeah, it's really an exciting process, and we're making a lot of progress. So I think, like Justin and Chris said, we're here to support the businesses, and that's what we intend to do. So ask your questions, and we're going to create this really. It's rithrives.com, but just so people can find it.
Good catch there, Lori.
Yeah. So yeah, I think, this is what we're doing. We talked about it. We're going to live it to give it. So we're going to put our expertise out there and help as many businesses as we can. We're in it too. So we're applying for PPP. We're in the same process with you. So thank you. Anyway, it's for everybody. It's super fun, and it's going to be very cool.
Yeah, so I'll just put my 2 cents in here. Thank you again. For those who are listening for the first time, rismallbusiness.org is a site that any small business can go to and register their business free of charge, and they get the expertise, advice of these 3 individuals that are very, very accomplished in their own businesses, and they're volunteering to help our other small businesses. This is when I put the plug in. Anybody who wants to volunteer the way that Lori and Chris and Justin have, call me directly, 401-465-6204. I'll answer, and we'll try to plug you in a way to help the small businesses. But I think that one of the messages that I'm providing today is we need to start thinking big, and we need to think as big as we possibly can, because that's the only way that you're going to overcome these issues for our small businesses. And the sledding's going to be pretty rough for a little while, but we got to find a way to get through it. And then when we get through it, we need to use the skill and talent that we're currently assembling here to really make sure that all our businesses have that great opportunity that we want them to have in Rhode Island. So thank you so much for your work. If you're out there at rismallbusiness.org, go there and shop a local business owner. We're going to have one of the innovators that are talking about helping the food delivery service on as one of our businesses very shortly. Yeah. And he's developed a strategy that I think is going to help our small businesses who are delivering food, our restaurants, in a way that not unlike you guys. I think that he's basically putting a service together that he's not going to be making a whole lot of money on, but he's going to provide a whole lot of service. So you're going to listen to him, and I want him to register his business on the site. And we have other applications, so more to come. Right, guys?
Great. Yeah.
Okay.
Great. Thank you for your work.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Talk to you guys soon. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, Ben, I think that we have a couple municipal leaders that are coming in. And it would be great. Yeah, Jessica's over there. Yeah. Hi, Jessica. How are you? Good to see you.
Yourself.
And
Good to see
Steve.
you.
Oh, yeah. This is great to have you here. I just want to let people know that that are out there with their small businesses or their people who are supporting our small business. Anybody who lives in the state of Rhode Island. As a former town council member myself and a former mayor, and working in that world for many years in my hometown of Cumberland, make sure you use your council people as resources out there. They want to hear from you. They don't know everything that's going on until they get a heads up. So call them. And I've been also really strongly advising not only to be calling Steve and Jessica in Central Falls, Steve in Warwick, but also call your reps, call your senators. This is the time. And especially if you're trying to keep a small business alive, we need to get the state to thinking a lot bigger than they're thinking. And I think that we need to get municipalities in general thinking a lot bigger than they're thinking right now too. But I know that Steve and Jessica represent, a real effort to help the small businesses. So with that said, let me go to Jess first. Jess, tell us a little bit of what's happening in Central Falls and how you're helping out there and what's going on, especially in the business area. But also, I want you to touch on which we've touched on here before, is the fact that we know there's a heavy Hispanic component to Central Falls. We know that that's a high risk area right now, high infection rates, and we need to make sure we're doing everything we can. So give us a little small business overview, and then give us a little bit of your ideas on how to make sure that we keep everybody safe in our state, including the Hispanic community.
Well, first of all, thank you, Lieutenant Governor, for having me on your series today, and of course, Council President Maria Rivera for extending this invitation. Just before we dive into the discussion, I just want to take this time to say thank you to my colleagues, Juan Carlos, Program Director of Newport for SEG, Doris from Commerce, Oscar from Hispanic Chambers of Commerce, Manuel SBDC, and Alex from Progreso Latino. Since mid-March, we've been working very closely together, providing information that is COVID related for the SBA loans programs, and also local opportunities available to the Latino community. Lieutenant Governor, you've already stated how these communities have been severely impacted by the virus. And a byproduct of that, of course, is that their businesses have been suffering as well. I was listening to the NPR radio station this morning. It was a question that I had several weeks ago, where the PPP loans, we've had over 7,000 people apply in the state of Rhode Island, but there was no information on demographics. So we really don't know yet what the numbers look like as far as who are the Black and Brown organizations and businesses who also were able to take advantage of the PPP loans. And from my understanding now, they're required to track the demographic information. Some of the things that I've been working on in Central Falls in partnership with the Hispanic Chambers of Commerce is working closely with the planning department there. As you all know, we have the micro stabilization loan that came out. $50,000 was awarded to Central Falls. So that means only 10 businesses will be able to be eligible for this grant program that would offer $5,000 for them to keep their small businesses up and running. And I just want to correct myself. So it's not small businesses. These are for micro businesses. So organizations or small businesses that have less than 5 employees, which includes as well the owner of that employee. Very quickly, because I know we're pressed on time, I wanted to make sure Council President Maria Rivera, she wanted me to speak on 2 things very quickly. One is a resolution that she will be introducing soon, and it's just to name Central Falls the Memorial Day weekend a takeout weekend formally for the city. It's just an initiative to make sure that we're supporting our small local businesses and buying locally. And then as well, and I think this is something you're very interested in knowing, is she introduced an ordinance that would grant temporarily outdoor expansions to all businesses in good standing with the city. However, that does not mean that small businesses can bypass the Department of Health regulations. Any issues that arise, of course, they have to come before the council. And again, this is a temporary license, and we are following strict regulations that we're looking closely what the governor is doing as far as the seating and the requirement goes with mask and all that good stuff.
Yeah, so thank you for your work as a councilwoman there in Central Falls. Very important. I don't know if you caught, Jessica, what Mark Haywood said, but there's still $100 billion that's still available on the PPP. So I think that some of the things that are happening, at least I'm seeing, not necessarily just in the Hispanic community, but in general, small businesses who are not, they don't have a legal team, an accounting team, and they really don't know how to work their way through. So they're kind of fish out of water in a lot of ways. And so we need to really make this real strong effort to make sure that everybody who needs a loan and qualify for one gets one, regardless of where they live. So I think part of the issue with part of my experience is to say that a number of the minority businesses, the Black owned businesses, Black community owned businesses, there's going to be a piece of those businesses that are going to be in the same place as other businesses, right? In terms of just the inexperience of how to get there. We got to figure out how to deliver that message. And in some cases, the Hispanic community needs it delivered in Spanish, right? That's a fact of the matter. So we need to do everything we can to do that. Keep up the good work there. Go ahead.
Thank you. I definitely agree that all businesses need support. But I definitely want to bring home that disproportionately Black and brown businesses have been affected by this, even before just access to capital has been really difficult for these businesses, which has impacted their ability to apply for the PPP loans. But I will say that a lot of work, as far as my work through SCG has been doing, we have advisors, and all advice and hours are free. We have lawyers, we have myself available who are helping people troubleshoot and navigate those resources. And of course, we have the linguistic capacity with us being bilingual.
Yeah, so just let the message to anybody out there listening, look, you're an application away from getting, potentially getting some help, regardless of where you live. And it's up to us, people in the community service like us, just to make sure that everybody has an equal playing field to that. So I don't disagree with, I'm just holding off on my discussion on education. I can't wait to get back into that one and the reasons that, education plays a big role on where we are today. I mean, we can't solve that problem today, but we can certainly figure out how to solve that problem going forward. So looking forward to working with you to do just that,
Thank you again, Lieutenant Governor, for inviting me today.
You got it. Steve, member of the City Council in Warwick. We've been on one of the art tours with you, and also I've been in conversations. You got two hats here. One to talk about what the City of Warwick is doing for small business, but also your role on the U.S. Chamber and being a regional director for reopening strategies for, I think, 11 states you mentioned to me, right?
Correct. Yes. Thank you very much for having me. And Councilwoman, I'm going to steal your idea about the takeout weekend for Memorial Day. I think I'm going to a resolution for that in Warwick. So I like that. So thanks for the idea.
Well, I love bringing municipalities together. I did that when I was a mayor, and I was saying on Friday when I had three councilmen, one from Johnston, Cumberland, and Westerly, saying, "Hey, the more you guys get together, the better ideas you are." So go ahead, the floor is yours.
Exactly, and that's one of the things. So I am the executive director of the Eastern region for the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. So I cover 11 states, but I've also been appointed to a reopening the economy task force by the Council of State Chambers and the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. So there's one individual for all 50 states, plus there's one for Washington, D.C., and one for Puerto Rico. So we get together once a week and talk about best practices and what each state is doing. And so we learn from each other. Some states are opening up quicker, so they're having more information that are available, how it's impacting the business community, what to look out for, regulations, different things like that. So I'm working on that. I'm representing Rhode Island there. I've been talking to the Lieutenant Governor, keeping him updated on this. I'm working with the Speaker of the House, and Nick Mattiello. Joe Shikarshi here in Warwick has been a great advocate for us as well. So we're meeting once a week as a community to to figure out what's the best practices, what's working. If you reopened in this state, what's working there? What is the legislature doing in this state compared to that state? And one of the things we want to get out there is we need some standardizations, so everybody knows what's required of the business owner. There's going to be a lot of new requirements on the business owner, and as the councilwoman had mentioned, a lot of these businesses are one or two people, micro businesses, where the owner is also a member. So putting all these additions on the employer of what they need to provide, we just want to make it clear. Everyone wants to make sure their workplace is healthy for both themselves and their customers. We just want to make sure there's standards across, so everybody knows this is where you need to be, and they can move forward on that. So that's part of the program we're doing. We're at the national level, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. So we are working with Congress, with the members of Congress every day. We're having meetings talking about the CARES Act. I've done about 50 briefings to chambers of commerce and businesses across the Eastern region over the last 3 weeks, breaking down the CARES Act for their businesses, for their members, PPP, the idle loans. Now we're talking what's going to be in phase 4. And one of the things that we're flagging that we're really interested in is what type of support are we going to receive from the federal government for the states and municipals. I know here in Warwick, we are looking to do our budget. We're going to have budget hearings at the end of the month. Our budget is going to be very impacted by this. Tourism dollars is a big part of our budget. Hotel tax, a big part of our budget. These are things. Meals tax is a big part. These are things that are all way, way down because of the situation we're in. So we're all going to be facing this. Warwick, Central Falls, and across the country is going to be facing this. So now we're working with the leaders in Washington, D.C. I know Senator Reid has been a great advocate for this here in Rhode Island. We want to see the next phase, but we don't think we're going to see anything until at least Memorial Day or maybe after. The House is back in Washington this week. The Senate came back last week. So it takes a couple weeks to get going here. And these are huge packages, a lot of moving parts. So that's what we're working on at the U.S. Chamber. We're trying to give the voice for the business community, because this is going to have an effect on us for a long, long time. So we want to make sure that we reopen, we get going here, and we give the support to the business leaders so they can continue to provide jobs for our community.
Yeah, so Steve, I think that the chambers, and I'll put a little plug in the fact that our local chambers couldn't participate in the PPP loans. We need to make sure that the state and the local communities support our chambers, just like we're advocating for them to support our small businesses, because and all the different groups out there. We have an Hispanic chamber. We have with Oscar, who does a great job there. And we got to make sure that we touch all the bases. So having you as a resource in the state, because of you're very similar to Mark Haywood in terms of as him being a resource for here in Rhode Island, having a national platform. We want to hear what's happening in other states. We have businesses that we want to see open up, but we don't have a roadmap for them yet. I'm really advocating for flexibility in all our areas of business. You're going to see things that we may not see that you could bring to our attention and say, hey, this is how a yoga studio is opening up. This is how a restaurant's opening up. This is how a hair salon's opening up, or whatever it might be. We need to find those examples. We're going outside the country actually to start talking to businesses around the world through my economic ambassador program, which Oscar's part of that, as well as Sonny and Lewis and a whole bunch of other people. And the last thing I would say is on this is that anytime I get municipal leaders in front of me, I really encourage the municipalities to be creating as high level of credit as they can through either tax anticipation notes or whatever, because in order to give flexibility to the people who live in your community, if you don't have the cash, say the federal government doesn't come in and fill that hole that you talked about, say the state somehow doesn't fill that hole, how are you gonna fill it? The way you're gonna do it is you're gonna get as much credit as you can possibly get and use as little as you need. But if you're not doing that right now in municipalities, I really encourage you to take a look. I know communities that are maybe at we're maybe doing $8 million of TANs now at $25 million. That's Cumberland, town of Cumberland, and I recommended that they do that. It doesn't cost very much, and then we go to the General Assembly and work on the fact that TANs have to be paid back in the same fiscal year they're borrowed in. Well, the General Assembly can make that like a 3-year window for us, and so that you never have to go back. It's always this line of credit you can use. And the good news with that is that if tax collections are low, they're always going to get paid. They're the first lien on any transaction. So you're going to have the security to pay back the loan, and then the state should be stepping in and maybe to subsidize that interest of some sort. But anyways, that's my municipal leadership.
Plug in for my chamber friends here on the PPP. We are pushing hard to have them included.
I know you are. That's why I brought it up. But if it doesn't happen, that's the big idea, Steve. I'm talking about. We need to get really big at thinking on the state level and also on the local levels in terms of how we're going to, keep the economy going. It doesn't do anybody any good to have a lot of unemployment, and you're going to have a whole lot more unemployment if any of these businesses fail for some reason. So, thank you for being here, Councilwoman from Central Falls, Vega from Central Falls, and Councilman McAllister from Warwick. Thank you so much for your leadership, and I appreciate you coming in and sharing that with our audience. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Well, that was great. These municipal leaders are very important to our state. We'll be trying to get a couple mayors on as well next week to kind of fill in the blanks. So we need to really get these big ideas. I think that the state needs to really leverage into the lending community at a if they can if federally that we can get some money, state can put some guarantees up. Let's do a 10-to-1 type of thing. Let's put a couple billion on the street in terms of helping the small businesses on good strategies in terms of loans. They're going to need cash. And then they're going to need some relief on insurance rates, whether it's flood insurance like they do down in Westerly, or whether it has to do with liability insurances. We really need to find any way we can to find relief. And I believe that the large corporations would get involved with some sort of social entrepreneurship to help out our small businesses. If our small businesses don't survive this, I can't imagine. You close your eyes and imagine your community without a small business in it. You can't. It's not possible. So, anyways, let's bring on a couple small businesses on. We're talking a little bit about some of the challenges that small businesses have. There's Anthony. I just talked to Anthony yesterday, a good friend of Senator De Palma, and Marianne, who's been a good friend of mine for years, and also a sponsor. Marianne is a sponsor on our Lieutenant Governor Entrepreneur Challenge. Thank you, Marianne. Appreciate it. Unmute yourself, and I have Emma here as a home daycare provider as well, and Rose is here just in case we need any translation. But let's start off with Marianne, and then we'll go to Emma, and then I'll end up with Anthony on his very creative idea to help the restaurant owners in the state of Rhode Island. Marianne, welcome.
Could everybody do me a favor and just mute yourself when you're not talking? Except for the Lieutenant Governor. If you're not talking, just mute yourself and then unmute yourself when he calls on you. Thank you.
Great. Marianne, can you hear me? Marianne? All right, let's go to Anthony. We'll catch Marianne afterwards. Anthony, can you unmute yourself? Anthony?
Hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Anthony, just tell
okay,
us
great. All right.
about your business background, but you really dig into the helping the restaurants. Spend a few minutes on that. We got a couple minutes with everybody, so introduce yourself.
Sure.
No contract valet, and thank you so much for being here and reaching out to us.
Oh, thanks for having me, Lieutenant Governor. So I've been a business owner for many years. I've been in real estate. I own a luxury apartment complex called Seaview Villa in Middletown, Rhode Island. I also own a cleaning company called Valet Cleaning USA, which was decimated during this pandemic because we primarily cleaned Airbnbs. So we had to adapt, and we had to adapt quickly so that we were able to keep our employees employed. We wouldn't have to lay anybody off, and in the process also hire new people too. So that's where we started No Contact Valet. There's two sides to the business. We help out restaurants deliver food at a very affordable rate so that they can in turn make money. We also do same day, next day grocery delivery, and we pretty much do any kind of errands that the customer needs. We all do it contactless to keep the customer and the employees safe. So to touch upon the restaurant side of it, as the Lieutenant Governor and I were discussing last night, a lot of these apps are charging a crazy amount of commission so that the restaurants don't really make any money. So we have a system where we do a flat rate, and that is $5 per entire order for a delivery. So it doesn't matter whether the restaurant has a $20 order or a $100 order, it's $5, period. And that way a restaurant can always make money. It's fair to the restaurant. And out of the $5, $4 of the $5 goes to the actual delivery driver, and the dollar goes to the company. So we make our money on volume, and then also the delivery driver keeps 100% of all tips, and 10% of our profits go to two charity foundations that are here on Aquinic Island, the Martin Luther King Center Food Bank and the Potter League for Animals, which are actually working together during this crisis. So the Lieutenant Governor, I should tell you, I was actually just talking to a restaurant owner a little earlier, and they told me something very interesting that I was actually not aware of, that you should be aware of too. We were talking about the commissions, but they also do something that is very interesting, and that is that if a restaurant happens to be out of a certain item for the day, say they ran out of tomatoes or something, and the customer wanted tomatoes on their sandwich. If they don't have that, and say an order it goes through one of the big delivery apps like DoorDash or Uber Eats, they'll actually shut down. They'll say that the restaurant is closed for the day. So can you imagine that? You end up running out of something during a pandemic, and then you don't have something, and all of a sudden you can't get any orders from the actual app. That's pretty hard on a business.
It is, and I think you're going to. I know you're localizing right now that service on the Aquinic Island, but I've already started to talk to people about trying to figure out how to get some pockets of potentially some of our restaurants. And I will encourage you and others to go to rismallbusiness.org and register. You should register the No Contact Valet there as well, Anthony. You're going to get many restaurants that you might not be able to service right now, but the concept may grow, or you may be able to find providers. And I've talked with transportation companies that MTM is, they're having a lot of trouble there, staying in business, and they're already structured for transportation. And talked to our group that was just on about how we could be able to use them, because that's what we're talking about here. The reason I asked you to come on is that we're really reinventing ourselves for the short term and in the long term for many ways. So thank you for sharing that. We'll get you that information out, and good luck with that. And let's try to work together to try to apply that into other markets. I think you're going to have some real big interest there, as one of our Becker had mentioned from Hometown Poke. I think it's Hometown Poke. Yes, that she's paying.
Well, I'd love to work with you.
A lot of them. So we'll do that. All right, let's try Marianne for a second. Thank you so much, Anthony. Marianne, are you up and running, you think?
Yes, I am. How are
Oh,
you?
my God, you're up and running. That's good. Tell us about Dr. Daycare. I was saying earlier where you were.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Yes, I just want you to know that I've listened to every single one of your broadcasts. They've been very helpful, and I am actually passing on to 100+ women who are all small business owners. And the information that you have shared, I get emails all the time saying Lieutenant Governor's office, the information he has passed out has been so beneficial. So I truly appreciate that.
Thank you, Marianne.
My business plan, we're opening up 9 child care centers, early learning centers. June 1st is the day child care can go back into business and education. So I'm very lucky we got the PPP grant. So my administrative staff was able to come back. As we all know, my daughter Amy Vogel pretty much runs the business for me, but her and my team is absolutely amazing, and they're moving it along. And we're going to do out of the 9 facilities, we're going to go like 3, 3, and 3 type of thing. So the first June 1st, we'll open up 3, then 3 more, then 3 more, so we can actually make sure we get it right. Big changes for the parents, because they used to come in right into the classroom and dropping off their children. Now they're going to be dropping off at the door, but that's going to be so much safer. We're going to take temperatures. They're going to be signing in to make sure they know that the children are going to be safe, and the information from a healthcare safety situation for what's going on in their home. We've gone from 11 and a half, 12 hours a day. We're going to get out to 9 hours a day. And the reason we're doing that is because the same teacher will be in the same classroom with the same 9 children. Our school age program in Thornley Street had 26 children. Because now we only have 12 human beings in one classroom, we're going to have 11 children and 1 teacher. So some of the school age children, we're going to have to find a way to move them into maybe other vacant classrooms if possible. So it's going to be a change, but we're all ready for it. We've been doing Zoom meetings with our staff, a great, amazing staff that we have at Dr. Daycare. Very, very lucky.
Well, Marianne, thank you for being here, and thank you for being a small business owner in Rhode Island all these years. And I've seen that your daycare grow in a way that has been, extraordinary. So thank you for that leadership. And I want to have you listening to Emma here too. Now, Emma is a home care daycare operator. She's going to run into some of the same issues that you're running on a smaller scale. So I'm hoping that we're able to kind of connect people together to help everybody survive this, just like the Gift It Forward crew is doing. So Emma, why don't you introduce yourself? I got Rosa here just in case there's a language issue that we might want to deal with, but if not, tell us a little bit about your business and some of the concerns that you have. We got 2 or 3 minutes here to kind of go over your story. Thanks for being here.
Muy buenas tardes a todos. Muchísimas gracias por invitarme y por ofrecerme este espacio para poder expresar nuestras inquietudes.
Ahora puedes hacerlo en inglés.
No, tradúcemela tú, por favor.
Okay, I was trying to make her do it in English. She's not confident enough to do it in English. But good afternoon. I'm happy to share my story about my business as a home daycare provider.
Una cosa que realmente quiero dar las gracias es al vicegobernador por darnos, o más bien darme esta oportunidad de sentir o de ofrecer realmente nuestras inquietudes.
I want to thank the Lieutenant Governor for offering me this opportunity to share my sentiments.
Creo que como todos en este momento estamos con ese temor de poder abrir nuestros programas.
We are all very afraid to open up our programs.
Ya que desafortunadamente esta pandemia cada día se ven mayor número de contagiados, ya sea.
Unfortunately, this pandemic is showing a higher number of people that are contagious.
Tanto en adultos como ahora estamos viendo a los contagios en niños y la cantidad de fallecidos.
We're seeing a high number in the contagious of children and also adults.
Y tenemos las estrategias para poder estar listos para abrir el día 1 de junio.
We have been developing some strategies to open up on June 1st.
Pero eso creo que no nos quita ese temor de poder reabrir con la confianza de
And
poder
even though we're
brindar,
planning, that doesn't take out the fear that we have to open up our businesses.
de poder brindar ese cuidado a esos niños, ya que nuestros niños tienen edades normalmente de 0 a 5 años.
That is very frightening because our kids are from 0 to 5 years old.
Y realmente es un poco difícil en esa edad explicarles qué es un distanciamiento social.
And it's very difficult at that age to explain to them and how to evade the social distance.
Y también hacerlos que realmente entiendan qué es el contagio de este virus.
And that is impossible to make them understand what does it mean to be infected with the virus.
Porque desafortunadamente, la mayoría de mis compañeras proveedoras de cuidado infantil son mayores de edad y tienen...
Unfortunately, most of our people that work with me in this business are over 60 years old.
Y realmente están en la línea de contagio, o también tienen familiares que tienen problemas médicos muy delicados, como es mi caso.
And many of them have some other underlying conditions and are very high risk population.
En mi caso, yo tengo una hija que tiene lupus, entonces eso
My daughter
me
has lupus
intimida.
and she lives in my house, and that poses a high risk.
Y eso me preocupa porque realmente no
And that really worries
tendré
me.
Distanciamiento social con mis niños, porque para mí yo los
It's
he
going to
criado
be impossible to keep that distance, social distance there.
los 5 o 4 meses, y entonces
Many
ese
of my
amor,
kids have come to my house when they were just months old, and now they're 5 years old.
las situaciones que tenemos que trabajar, porque realmente
The situation is pressing, and we need to work.
tenemos que cubrir nuestras necesidades entre mortgage, pago de nuestros biles.
We have to pay our bills.
Pero yo creo que debería de haber una estrategia más segura para
And it should
nosotros,
have been a strategy to cover all our needs.
porque sería muy fatal que se convirtiera esto en una contaminación entre proveedora y niños y proveedora.
This could be a fatal situation if they all come in the house and they are infested and they can contagion everybody else. They can contaminate everybody else.
So let me, we're going to have to cut it a little bit short here, but Emma, thank you so much for sharing the story. I want to also say that part of the big ideas that I think that the state needs to do is small businesses that are going to need to have, do things that are going to cost them money to prepare safely. The state should be stepping in and funding that. Hopefully that's going to happen. If you need gloves or masks, or you need, sanitizers or signage, this is all things that our office is going to be working on. And the other thing, Emma, is I'd really like to get you in contact with people like Marianne Showcross, who was on the show just before, because she's got a great deal of experience, and I think that she's willing to share that with some of the other smaller operators. So, Marianne, you just heard Emma's story, and I think you could probably flash back yourself when you just first opened up, right?
Yes.
Absolutely. Tell her to call me. I will guide her through the whole process.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's the idea. Thank you, everybody. Rosa, thank you for being here again. Rosa works with us.
Thank you. My pleasure, Lieutenant Governor.
Yeah, Rosa's doing the Spanish translations every day of the governor's press conferences for the Hispanic community. I think that we're up against the clock again, and we'll be back on Friday. Tomorrow night on the broadcast at 7 o'clock, my guest will be the Lieutenant Governor Gilchrist from Michigan and Lieutenant Governor Bethany Hall from Delaware. And we're going to hear about their reopening strategies. We're going to compare notes because we really want to create the most flexibility we possibly can. We want to be safe, but we need flexibility in the way that we open our businesses. And if we're not looking for ways that make sure that our businesses can operate in a way that they can stay alive, they're not going to be alive after this crisis is over. The state needs to step up, needs to get very aggressive in terms of a strategy of either putting their guarantees behind loans, leveraging those, and then applying those federal dollars that are available to us to help the small businesses in a way that we leverage, a couple $2 billion onto the street for our small businesses right now. And I'm going to keep on working on that idea and keep on sharing that with everybody. Until the next time we speak, stay safe And thank you, Ben, for your help. And thank you for all my guests for being here today. Thank you.